We are live. This is Coach Arnie with the Health, Love, and Life Show. And we are talking. Well, first of all, don't forget to follow me here. You can, the best way to get a hold of me is by phone call, 602-390-9144. You can email me, Arnie Fonseca Jr. at gmail.com. And that's the best way. We're doing some other things with our web stuff, a lot of changes here. Actually, I was just talking to somebody about that before I hopped on this call or this podcast with everybody. So, and I actually have my my energy back here a bit in that last week, somebody had made a comment that, man, you sound tired. And maybe I was. But we are going to talk about, we're going to do a little recap, have a little fun, and just do a recap of what I did at the Grand Canyon on, that's my calendar's off here, on October the 29th and 30th and 31st, I guess. Yeah. Over 3 days. And it's I call it the adventure of a lifetime, the infamous R5 at the Grand Canyon. And so we'll go over some things here, what this is. And when I talk to people, because a lot of people don't even understand what the heck it is. I was talking to somebody earlier today and go, oh, I'm going to the Grand Canyon and we're going to go, and visit. And I go, oh yeah, let me tell you what I did. And I go, I went across and back and across and back. And they go, what? And and we've discussed it before, but in a normal year, and it's getting to be back to normal a little bit, around 6 million people visit the Grand Canyon. And probably 2% of that 6 million. So what is that? Maybe 120,000 roughly, maybe, go below the rim. And out of that, maybe 1% might go more than a couple miles. Let's say 3 miles. So, maybe 60,000. And out of that, maybe a half of that might go to the river. So that might be another 30,000 out of that 60,000. And out of that 30,000, maybe half again might go all the way across the canyon, which is what they call a rim to rim. And most people, and that's usually done from May to October, because the North Rim is closed technically after November the 1st. Usually it's still open though. There's no facilities up there except a ranger station. So people have to be driven, dropped off until they close the gate. And they usually close the gate after a good snow. So we're talking about, maybe 15, 20,000 out of the 120,000 that go below the rim. And then maybe half of that do what's called a rim to rim to rim, which is anywhere from 3 miles to 48 miles. And then what I did, you could probably count on one hand. And what I did for my age, because I'm 62, no one had done it before. So that kind of felt kind of good. And that just came across the week I left. And I mentioned it to a lady who asked me some of the questions that I'm going to ask myself here. Why am I doing this? And I did something, came back. I said, and another reason, I think I might be the first 60-year-old to do this. And she goes, oh, okay. So kind of like being a pioneer, I guess. But others have done it. I mean, the guy that is staying here with me right now, he's done it twice. And he's the one that kind of encouraged me to give it a shot and help me, coach me. So what it is, it's anything. And I'm the first one I know that's done it the way I did it, which is on what's called South Kaibab. That's a trail, a main corridor trail on the South Rim. It's roughly 7.5 miles from the top of the rim on the South Rim to what's called Phantom Ranch. It's a luxury hotel at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. It is a kind of a hotel motel. We'll call it a motel on the bottom of the Grand Canyon. But they have Ritz-Carlton prices, I'll tell you that. And it's a lot harder to get into the Grand Canyon, Phantom Ranch, than it is at the Ritz-Carlton, since there's a year waiting list to stay there. And they have a country dinner every night. And with COVID, they're still not open per se for dining and all that fun stuff, or the normal stuff where you can go in there and get something to eat. So they basically everything's takeout. So we'll leave it at that. But yeah, so as far as I know, I'm the first person to have gone from the South Rim on South Kaibab through Phantom Ranch over to the North Rim, turn around, come back through Phantom Ranch and back up South Kaibab, and then did it again. So, because most will go up or down, maybe go down South Kaibab and come back up Bright Angel. The main reason is safety. There's water on Bright Angel. There's no water on South Kaibab. And South Kaibab is steeper. So I did this specifically in this way. Choosing South Kaibab because it was tougher. Number 2, going solo. Number 3, and solo is nothing unique because finding people to do dumb stuff with you is hard. And number 3, unassisted. I didn't have anybody help me. I even made it a point when I was down in the canyon of not asking anybody to help me straighten out my pack or things that were really annoying the heck out of me. So nobody can come back and say, oh, I helped that guy. Well, no, you didn't. And that's okay because there's some wonderful people down there. So the way I did it was approximately 85 miles, 22,000 feet of climbing. And what else? And yeah, and it took longer than I thought, 49 hours, which we'll go over here in a minute. That's the fun part, I guess. But yeah, and so there you go. That's the R5. What it is, it's so you can either do it down South Kaibab, up South Kaibab, down South Kaibab, up Bright Angel, or you can go down Kaibab, up Bright Angel, down Bright Angel, and then back up Bright Angel. Or you can start at Bright Angel and do everything on Bright Angel, which is a longer and flatter trail. It's still very tough, believe me. None of these things I'm telling you are easy. They're very tough. So that's what it is. Why I did it. Well, there's a couple reasons why I did it. One, I'm an exercise physiologist. I've been competing and doing challenges my whole life. And this was just the latest, greatest in that line of challenges. So as of today, it was an adventure of a lifetime. But, for many people, doing a rim to rim at the Grand Canyon is an adventure of a lifetime. It's not easy. I have a son-in-law who did the first 2 of these with me, and he doesn't like going there because it was tough. And he was a very trained athlete. He had done 3 Ironman before that. And it's just one of those things. It's not, as my coach explained the other day, going down drop-offs anywhere from a foot to maybe yay big for 7 miles and hours and hours and hours can beat the living you-know-what out of you. And so that takes a special kind of training, conditioning to do that. Now, I'll be honest with you, not a lot of people train for the Grand Canyon. Some do, but a lot of people will just do what they normally do, hike or whatever they do, and hoping that it prepares them to do one of the hardest hikes in the world. Hoping. So what happens? Well, they get there and it's not too bad. Coming down, feeling pretty good. You get down to Phantom Ranch, you catch your breath, and you're going, wow, okay, not too bad, but I'm a little fatigued. Well, what had happened in that process is that it moved your pelvis because the quads get hammered hard coming downhill. The quads are the front part of your legs. And so everything kind of gets out of alignment. And then you start to walk uphill. Now you shift everything back to the big muscles in your fanny, the back of your legs, your calves. And things are not in the right position. So if things aren't in the right position, then the muscles are kind of straining to kind of keep things in the right position. That's like we do work with the front part of your shin, the anterior tibialis, because most people don't work that, and we struggle to keep that ankle and in alignment when you're going up and down trails. And so what happens is the back of your leg gets a heck of a workout, and people hurt themselves. Achilles tendon, calf muscles, strains, all that stuff. So there's a lot of nuance, science, and stuff that goes on with all this stuff. So, so the idea is we're going to do what I did was an event. It wasn't a camping event, although I tried to make it into one. It was an endurance event that I would go nonstop until I finished. I would have my own supplies at my car. So every time I came up, which is just once or twice, but once that I needed supplies. So, and then I would rest a little after my first one, but that didn't happen because crazy stuff happened, like misplacing my charging cable to my watch. I spent 45 minutes looking for that, killing valuable time. Then I had to find a parking spot for my watching cable, make sure I was charging it the right way, charge my phone, get something to eat. And I had all this worked out in my head, but I'd never done it before. So one of my takeaways, and we'll get to what I learned from this, is don't be so dogmatic about when I start. But yeah, so I got back to my car and did all this stuff. Then the goal was to sleep for an hour and a half or so. And that didn't happen. Well, because I lost 45 minutes trying to find my cable, then trying to figure out. So there goes an hour. Now I'm down to an hour and a half. because I finished at a little after 5 on Saturday morning. So my goal was to get out of there by 8. So I was off a little bit, and which would have gave me an hour and a half to get ready and an hour and a half to sleep. Well, in my mind, it didn't happen. And that was the mistake I made, but we'll get to that. So what it is, it's a double rim to rim to rim. It's 85 miles, 22,000 feet of climbing. And at the Grand Canyon, you can choose to do it however you want. I chose to go the hardest way just because I'm hard-headed. So why? Well, the big why was to challenge myself physically, do something that potentially had never been done before. And number 3, I wanted to encourage other people my age, in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, that they weren't done yet, that there was more they had left to do, that there were more challenges in their life. It doesn't have to be the Grand Canyon. It could be something else. It could be doing a 5K with their wife or their kids or their grandkids. Just being able to be physical with your family is a big thing. Being able to do things with them and not being worn out, not being a dead weight, an anchor on events because your knees hurt, your back hurts, your hip hurts, your feet hurt. How many of you guys know people like that? That they can't do anything. Now, some of them are embarrassed by it. Some aren't. Some aren't. So being able to inspire, encourage folks my age is a big thing, big part of this thing, because I'm nothing special when it comes to the Grand Canyon, except that I am committed to learning about it so I can help other people do it. I'm committed to learning those trails so I can help you to do the appropriate kind of training for those trails. Okay. So, these are all things that played into this, starting with the, what it is, why I was going to do it. But it really came important to me to help people. It's one word I kept hearing all the time in my brain that I had nice long talks with, helping people, and so that's a big part of the why here, besides my own personal challenge, my own something like this keeps me on my toes. It gets me to the gym. It helps me to eat better because I have something to work towards. How many of you know people that don't have anything to work towards? That's hard. It's hard not to have something to work towards. It's important to have something to hold on to. And when you have something to hold on to, it makes all the difference in the world because you become full of energy. Hold that thought. We are going to take a quick break and be right back with the Health, Love, and Life and Adventure Show.
Welcome back to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. You guys are listening to Health, Love, and Life's Adventures with Arnie Fonseca Jr. He is a health and life strategist from Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome back to the show.
All right, guys. And so we were talking about what this was, why I did it, and where. So where was the Grand Canyon? The Grand Canyon is I guess it's known as one of the 7 wonders of the world. One of the 7 wonders of the world. And so happens to be in Arizona where I am. And lo and behold, I have fallen in love with the Grand Canyon over the past 7 years. 7 years. And so I've been there now over 20 times into the canyon. And I want to say 10, going on 10 solos. And the rest of the time has been either with people or when I say solos, I mean in a rim to rim to rim, rim to river, rim to river to rim, or a but when I go to and do a rim to river, I just count that as a trip to the canyon, more like a training type trip. I've never done a rim to rim, only because of the logistics of getting a ride. Well, yeah, to the North Rim. Getting a ride is a hassle, and it costs. There's a cost to it, and then you're kind of under the control of somebody else, whether it's your ride, and so there's some logistics involved with all that. So, but again, I'm not against it, because most people, that's what they do. Believe me, when I'm there, I run into a lot of people doing a rim to rim more than anything else. Probably even more than rim to river. Okay. And here's the uniqueness as well, too. When I train for this, I'm training to do it in one shot. A lot of people that I just mentioned to you that go down, that of those 120,000 people every year, a lot of them are camping. A lot of them are going down there and spending a night in a campsite. A lot of them might be spending 2 nights in a campsite. So their rim to rim might be a 3-day adventure. And that's still a big deal, because when you're climbing 5,000 feet, I mean, I don't know where you live, but here in Arizona, I'm surrounded by little mountains. When I call them little, some might think, oh, they're pretty big. I mean, it's not Colorado, but my little mountains, the highest one is, I want to say, about 1,200 feet of climbing. 1,200 feet. So we're talking about 4 of those to finish your climb out of the canyon. But you got to go down 4 of them to get there. Now, those of you that live in Colorado, you got the 14,000 footers around there. So if you can get out there, and again, you're not climbing 14,000 feet, but you may be climbing 5, 6, 7, 8,000. You might, depending on the mountain, depending on the trail. I know there's one in Utah. I think it might be 8,000 feet after some climb. And I know there's one in San Jacinto that's close to 8,000 feet, but Palm Springs. But again, it all depends. The uniqueness of the Grand Canyon is the downhill, that thundering pressure on your knees and hips and back for hours and hours and hours and hours. And it makes a difference. It really does. So the why was, the challenge, which is why I picked the hardest way to do it. The age, physical challenge at my age, and inspiring and helping other individuals to create their own challenge, whether it be the Grand Canyon or anywhere else. I mean, heck, might be a 5K. Could be a new job. It could be a new relationship. Heck, I've got a client right now, and Cece would understand this. His biggest challenge in his life is getting over his relationship. I mean, since she does a lot of work with relationship folks on her shows, those are big challenges. Heck, in many ways, they're a lot harder than what I'm doing. Okay. So again, that's kind of the why there, and the where was the Grand Canyon, where it was located here in Arizona, which made it easier for me, especially last year with COVID and what's going on, traveling, big hassle. And it's someplace that I can drive to in 3.5 hours and be on the trails. And literally 3.5 hours from leaving my house, I can be on the trails. Now, for this last one, I did something a little different that I normally don't do. I haven't done this since the first 2 times I did this. I spent the night up there, and I spent the night in a place called Williams, which is about an hour from the canyon. One was a little less pricey, because, and 2, you can't get a room. In October, trying to get a room in the Grand Canyon or Tucson, the little town outside, is almost impossible. And they're going to charge you through the roof. And so I found something for probably a third of that, because I was only going to be there just over the night, and then literally get in there in the evening, leave early in the morning, and just needed a warm bed and a shower and ready to go. So my goal here to kind of get into the logistics of how I did this, with my coach, we planned how to do this the right way. At first, I thought, hey, look, I'm going to get some people to help me. I had all kind of people tell me, hey, coach, I want to help you. I want to be involved. Everybody from Facebook groups to my family, even my wife. And the only person I really went to was my wife. That was like 3 months ago, but she was having some medical things going on. And she said, nah, I probably won't feel like it. Up until about a week before, she goes, hey, what about me helping you? And I go, no. Well, because I already had made all the plans. And I also was taught a valuable lesson that I didn't have to experience to learn. My coach said, when I did it, the first time I did it, I had some people that were going to help me. I tried to time my event, my adventure, around when they would be available. And he goes, that's a disaster, because when you're in the canyon, you don't know how you're going to feel, what's going to happen, and you cannot communicate with the people above. You can't. So it could throw everything off. And if you don't know where everything is when you get above the rim, it could really throw you off. Hence my problem that I ran into trying to look for a charging cable for a watch. Now, in a perfect world, if I had somebody there waiting for me with my charging cable, well, they didn't have to be there. Say, give me your watch. I'm going to charge your thing for you. That's the perfect world. But guess what? What if they weren't there? I would have really freaked out. See, because if they weren't going to be staying there waiting for you, they would have to time it. And that's very difficult to do. So a strategic move we made was no help. At least on this first one. No help. So I would have to be organized, and I would have to take care of myself. What's called unsupported. So that was a very key, and I think very important thing here. Very important. Because it put me in charge of everything. And that's okay. Especially the first time. And so that was a big one. And then having a plan for some sleep. I have experienced some sleep deprivation before, but not like this. Yeah. I thought I was ready. I had been doing some preparation work. Like if I would go to the Grand Canyon, I would get up early in the morning, work, leave for the canyon around noon, get there around 4, Start around 5. Finish around, I don't know, 9 o'clock in the morning. So that would put me up 24, close to 30 hours, and then stay up, whatever. So again, I tried to push it in my training, but besides just staying up for 2 days straight, that's tough. And so if you add in, so what we wanted to do was get as close to the canyon as we could. So hour away, pretty close. I slept as long as my body wanted to, and then got ready. So overall, I was up for 24, 48, and then 6, 7. I was up for 55 straight hours, roughly, before I zonked. So that's a long time. It's a long time. So 55 straight hours that I was up. And so my practice would take me, sometimes more than 30 plus. I tried not to, it was longer because I would rest, but I would never really sleep prior to driving home another 3.5, 4 hours. Get it? So add that in, another 4 hours, then trying to stay up at night. A little bit. So I would push the 40-ish hour mark. But it's one thing to be up. It's another thing to be moving and doing stuff and functioning and having to be, having to think. And that was a big part here, because the 3 things that really I would improve on. Number 1, sleep deprivation. I would sleep. I would work in a sleep break and stick to it. I didn't do that. When I panicked about my watch and phone and all that, I just blew it off, thinking I felt pretty good. Number 2, my feet. I experienced some terrible feet issues at the North Rim for the second time. When I was up there for the second time, remember I started the south, went to the north, came back to the south, went back up to the north. At that point, my feet didn't feel good. So it made it hard to run. It made it hard to do some of the things I wanted to do. That's okay. I managed that. So what I had done, I had brought another pair of shoes. An older pair that were in still good shape, that had never let me down. Whereas my new ones have let me down more than once, but they felt pretty good after the first go round, but not the second. So my gut said, change your shoes, but I didn't. I was too worried about other stupid stuff. So staying focused, but changing your shoes. So working in a nap, shoes. Third, I'll call it push, meaning that I had a time in my head. Not good. And the time was 8 o'clock in the morning. I wanted to be on the move by 8 o'clock Saturday morning. Well, I did. I was out by 8:07, but I should have pushed. I should have, the lesson there is I should have said, okay, I need an hour and a half. So at 7 o'clock, when I was getting ready, I should have said, get ready. And then when you're done getting ready, set your timer and you're going to sleep for an hour and a half, which means I probably would have slept till 9 o'clock. Well, guess what? It didn't matter anyways. I lost all that time. And an hour and a half of sleep can make a huge amount of difference as I was doing my homework. So it's a good learning thing. I would do that differently. I would do a little more study on sleep. I would make sure the shoes I had on for the second day were my best opportunity. And number 3, I would push the start of my second day to wherever I felt was necessary. So those are 3 big things that I would do a little differently. Because honestly, the fact that I felt pretty good this first day, I think I could have drank a little bit more water because I felt like I was cramping and I go, wait, I'm not going that fast. So, but it went away with some extra water. I would have, because when I look on the second day, okay, so let's just go through it. On the second day, I started hallucinating in the middle of the day. I was seeing stuff, the Easter Bunny or whoever. And it started to take a toll. But I felt okay. I felt really good physically. My strength training was amazing. I'm telling you, my strength training. And if you ever want to follow me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, there are some really good videos. And this is some of the stuff we're working on to get out there. But I've got some really good videos on building the right kind of strength, not just for the Grand Canyon, but in general. And I'm telling you what, it was spot on. I felt great physically. Felt great. Now, big issue was sleep. Because I think the stomach issues I experienced on the North Rim were related to being sleep deprived. At least that's what my research is showing me. Because I had a very hard time eating and drinking at the North Rim all the way back to the finish. I still can't believe I'm blessed. I still can't believe that I went all that way the second day without eating and drinking. That was a miracle. That was a miracle. But I certainly don't want it going down that way. So to me, if an hour and a half nap can take care of most of that, I'd be kind of dumb not to do it. Because my nutrition was really spot on. I've been practicing for a long time. No issues. No issues on the first day. Felt solid. So we're going to go with the fact that being sleep deprived did something to my stomach. And I'm still doing some homework on that too. But look, that's a lesson. It's a lesson. And the fact that I felt so strong coming up South Kaibab, that's a lesson too, that I'm on the right track, especially for someone my age. Because one of the reasons that I started to do a lot of strength training with individuals my age is because people were telling me, oh, my knees hurt. Oh, my hips hurt. Oh, my back hurts. I can't do something like that. I kept hearing that all the time. I said, wait a minute. I got to get my tribe in shape. I mean, it's one thing to tell somebody, hey, good job. It's another thing to say, hey, I want to do that. But most people don't think they can even do it. Most people don't think they can even do something like that. They don't have the mindset that they need. So back to my why. So if hearing some crazy guy like me doing something like that, you might think, I can do that. I can at least do a little bit of that. I can at least go below the rim. I'm not afraid. I can do it. And but you got to believe it. You got to believe it. So back to the strategy of all this is that I chose to start at 9 o'clock in the morning on Friday because that would be the two reasons. One, I could sleep in because I don't really sleep in, but I could sleep in. Two, going to the Grand Canyon in October, you're going to stand in line if you get there after 9 o'clock in the morning. So why waste time sitting in a car to get into the park? If I just get there a little early, I could be at the trail by 9 o'clock. So that's what we came up with. Smart, because I waltzed through, got over to the trailhead, and I was spot on. The only thing that messed up the first day, I didn't get a parking spot. So I had to park along the street, which made an extra move that I had to do Saturday morning when I finished. And that did take some time. That was a strategic, not error, just strategic move I had to make. So that's the main reason we start at 9 o'clock. And then that changed the dynamics of health, which means on a slow day, I would finish somewhere between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. Now, I don't know about you, but most people don't want to get up and wait for somebody in the cold at 4 o'clock in the morning. Hence the second decision of being solo, unassisted. Okay? Because I would finish in the dark. And I did. I finished in the dark. So, yeah, and then all the other stuff happened. So being a little better organized would help. And I got some ideas for that. But the next time we do this, we're going to do something different. I don't have to do it solo again. I don't have to do it the way I did it. I can do it and have more fun with it because this was a once-in-a-lifetime shot. I took it. And that's what I'm sharing with you guys. Look, I can live for another 50 years and know that I took my shot and did it. Was it perfect? No. But you know what? I did it. And I haven't heard anybody come up to me and says, yeah, but Arnie, you didn't. Nope. Even my coach. He goes, wow, you did it. Because he knows how hard it is. I haven't heard anybody tell me, you should have done this, you should have done this. If anything, anybody asked me, what would you do better? Which I've shared with you guys. Some of the things I would do better. That involved with sleep, shoes, being organized, starting times, all that stuff. All that can be improved. But any of you that go through a big challenge in your life, relationship, if you're not doing something different in a relationship that ended poorly, then you're going to probably repeat it. Getting a job, keeping a job, same thing. What'd you learn? How can you keep the job? What did you learn from the last job? See, all these things, all these lessons that we get from physically challenging ourselves, is because the Grand Canyon is just not a physical challenge. It's a mental and emotional challenge. I mean, there were times in the middle of the night, guys, where I felt like I was lost. I didn't know where I was going. Am I on the right trail? Why does it seem so slow? What kept me going was I just had a mindset of it didn't matter. It didn't matter. I'm just going. I'm coming out of here. It's not going to matter. Didn't matter. It really didn't matter. It really didn't matter. So, guys, listen. I appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate all of you listening to my rant on my R5 at the Grand Canyon. There's my phone number. If any of you are curious about the Grand Canyon, if you're curious about building the right kind of strength, especially as you get a little bit older, you can call me. You can email me. Best way to get a hold of me. I promise you, I'll make it worth your while. Don't forget to join us every other week here on the Health, Love, Life, and Adventure Show with me, Coach Arnie, talking about crazy adventures. I will start to be bringing on some guests here. I just had to get organized in this new time slot. And then there you go. I love you guys. Look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.